How would you like to jumpstart your child's reading this year with an award-winning online program? Reading Eggs features a personalized system of interactive lessons based on scientific research, including colorful animations and exciting rewards to motivate your child to learn. You can instantly track your child's progress and reinforce their newfound skills with hundreds of printables and bonuses. With your subscription, you have access to not one, but multiple reading programs. Visit readingeggs.com/Media Angels to learn more about the free 30-day trial that provides access for up to 4 children to all 5 learning programs. That's readingeggs.com/Media Angels.
This is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. Welcome to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Your host, Felice Gerwitz, is an author, a publisher, and your radio show host. She will encourage, educate, and inspire you with answers to your most pressing questions, from homeschool, marriage, parenting, and much more. Felice loves to equip moms to live a Christian life because every moment counts. Be sure to visit her website at MediaAngels.com. And here's your host, Felice Gerwitz.
Hey friends, and welcome. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you coming, especially because we are celebrating our 10-year birthday. That's right, the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network is celebrating 10 years, and we really appreciate all of you. If you enjoyed today's broadcast, would you please like it online and on your favorite podcast app? You can give it a star rating and comment, and also share it with a friend. Well, my name is Felice Gerwitz, and this is an episode of Vintage Homeschool Moms. Today we're going to talk about harvesting your child's strengths for any age. This is episode 506, and you can find today's show notes at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com, and there you will find a PDF as well that you can print out and look at, where I list many strengths that your child may exhibit, and that way you can print it out for your own use. So you can find it in the show notes on the website. Well, harvest time calls to mind many things, but this is a perfect time to work on your child's strengths and develop them more fully. Each of us has gifts and things we do well. This podcast discusses how you can encourage your children to achieve. And we'd also like to remind you that you can subscribe to our newsletter and receive free printables. We are doing an entire revamp of our printables. We still have our monthly ones that we give away for those that subscribe to our emails. And we also are going to be doing some mini planners, and those are going to be available for free as well. And we're working on one that will actually go with this podcast on your child's strength. So each child has a strength, and some you can easily distinguish and others are harder to find. So finding your child's strength is our topic today. And I recently listened to a presentation by a speaker who shared that we're all walking around with gifts many times that we don't even realize we have. And they called it an anointing or a gift from God. When we work in this anointing, we feel empowered or enthusiastic. But when we work outside of our anointing, that blessing and grace from God doesn't seem to be there. And we feel tired and down, and it's as if we have a weight on our back. And we trudge along, having to do whatever that is in our life, but not doing it happily. This happens to all of us, doesn't it? Think about something you enjoy doing. And when you're doing that thing, whatever that thing is, you do it enthusiastically. For me, it's writing or speaking. I can sit down and come up with ideas. In fact, I usually map out half a year at a time. I just pray about it, and I have all these different topics I want to share with all of you. And then I just write them down, and it takes me probably about 30 minutes to really sit down and focus on what I want to say. And so it's working within one of my strengths. I also love to bake, and that's something else that I enjoy doing. I'm good at it. People like the food I make. So that's how you know that, it's something that you do well or you've learned to do well. So think about that yourself. Think about what you enjoy doing. Do you enjoy homeschooling? Do you enjoy doing faith-filled activities? What about doing crafts? Maybe you like doing crafts with the kids. Or maybe you're like me and you like to bake. Are you organized? Do you enjoy getting things organized in your home? Do you enjoy spending time with your family? I think probably anyone listening to this podcast does, right? What about taking the kids outdoors to explore? Do you enjoy doing things out in nature? Are you a runner? Are you good at finding unique books? Or do you like to present different topics to your children that are fun to study? So if you're answering no, no, and no, don't worry. This podcast is not to make you feel bad about yourself, but there's always things that we enjoy doing and some enjoying things that others do not. What activity or hobby do you enjoy? Think about that first. The second is, where did you first learn you had a gift or anointing in this area? Think about why you enjoy an activity or a hobby, and then think about how often you do this enjoyable activity. So it's what, where, why, and how, and you can break that down with your kids as well. When we work within our talents or gifts or anointing, as the speaker had said, it does not seem like it's work. In fact, we highly enjoy it and we're motivated and we want to do it often. And so that's one of the ways that we know what our strengths are. And we can use those strengths for different things. We can use it to minister to our family. We can use it to minister at church. If you have children, during this broadcast, I'm going to share with you how I was able to help my granddaughter take some of her strengths and use them as a marketable skill. I've also put some links in the show notes for you about with some of the other podcasts that may be helpful to you. So, how do we harvest a child's strengths? The first thing we're going to do is observe. Many of you know what your children's strengths are, but take a look again. What type of activities does your child enjoy? Are they musical? Are they academic? Do they like to do art or activities such as crafts? Are they good at physical activities such as sports? How does your child exhibit these strengths? So think about this. Well, I created a list, and again, you can print that out. So if you go to Vintage Homeschool Moms and look for episode 506, Harvesting Your Child's Strengths, you'll find that PDF in the show notes. And again, you can print it out. But I'm going to go through this list quickly. And as I'm going through these strengths, I want you to think of it as just an idea, because of course I've left out many. I couldn't list every single thing. But maybe this will give you a place to start. And I've broken them up like, for example, character, communication, social, emotional, and so forth. So like for character, is your child honest and responsible? Are they persistent? Do they work hard? Do they get along with others? Are they reasonable? Do they have reasonable self-control? Do they think about others over themselves? Another strength is communication. Are they storytellers? Do they communicate thoughts and ideas well? Do they listen? Do they articulate well? Are they persuasive? We all have children that are very persuasive, right? They use those communication skills very well. The third is social. Do they have a way with people? Are they an extrovert? Do they have good friends, even if it's just one good friend? It's interesting that even people who are social don't always let many people into their inner circle. They might be friends with a lot of people, but very few people are their good friends. Are they polite? Do they have leadership abilities and work with others well? Do they play well? Do they follow rules? Do they have good relationships? Are they well liked? So that gives you an idea there. What about children who are emotionally mature? I had one of those. He was an old man in a kid's body. So he was mature beyond his years, and he still is as a young adult. So it's someone who has good common sense, is a half full rather than a half empty person, sees the good in things and others, and is able to handle disappointment, is empathetic, and has good intuition. Somebody who can figure things out, or who hears something and just can succinctly put it together and figure it out. What about someone who's good in academics? You know, those kids who like to do puzzles or, take all kinds of strategy tests. So is it someone who does good, in different topics or different subjects, someone who reasons well, has a good memory? Multitaskers can be along those lines. Someone who's focused and likes to read, writes well, or enjoys a particular subject or more. What about those children you have that are logical? These are kids that can figure things out. They're good at problem solving. They usually have interests in math, science, computer, or engineering, something like that. What about the hands-on kids? These are the kids who are good at fixing things, that can do puzzles or Legos. They're good at building. They're strong visually. And as I'm going through these, you may be saying, well, I have a child who's one of three things you've already mentioned, and that's fine because we have multiple strengths. What about the kid who's a physical or hands-on kid? And that's not, I did say hands-on for the previous one, but this is more on the line of sports, or someone who likes to play active games, or who's physically strong and likes to do things outdoors. Okay, so someone who really is into the physical things. And then we have fine motor. So that's someone who's really good at details. It could be someone who also is creative and enjoys crafts or building things, but somebody who has really good eye-hand coordination, which again can very easily dovetail into the sports. What about a child who's empathetic? This is a child who has a good sense of self and is sympathetic to others. Someone who probably has a strong or growing faith and understands and senses when others are hurting. What about someone who is musical, artistic, or creative? And I lumped all of these in together. So musical can be someone who sings or understands rhythm, who can pick out music and actually play something just from hearing it, or has learned a musical instrument and enjoys practicing. And that is the key. When someone is working within their anointing or their strengths or their blessings, they enjoy doing it, that you don't have to ask them to practice. I had two children who loved to play sports, and those two never had to be reminded to practice. They enjoyed it so much, they practiced on their own. So again, that's working within your gifting. How about someone who's artistic? They're creative, they have a good eye-hand coordination, they can draw what they see, they have an eye for beauty, and they're creative. Which brings us to the creative person. Someone who has a good imagination, has great ideas, may tend to be in the area of dramatic, and they have good memories, and they often come up with things that are original. What about a child who's technical? Someone who's computer savvy or good at coding and analytics. Someone who's good at research and learning with hands-on and trial and error. And I would add to that someone who's very patient, because having worked in the techie world, I have found that patience is a virtue, especially when you break code. So I've done that. And then the last one it's actually second to last, is spiritual. And this is someone who understands that there's more to the world and life than what we see. Someone who realizes that faith is an integral part of humanity. Someone who knows that God exists and bases their worldview on a Judeo-Christian principle or whatever faith you may have, and has a good philosophy on life and is also empathetic. And the last is hobbies of all types, and I didn't want to list them all. So when your child exhibits or demonstrates any of these strengths, and I'm sure I'm leaving many out as I said, they are normally energized and focused. For example, why is it that kids enjoy movie night but maybe struggle to do a reading assignment or some other school assignment? We can't always work within our strengths, right? But we can recognize them and address those that we need to work on. Remember I told you I was going to give you an example of how you can turn a child's strengths into something more. So my granddaughter is good at crafts. In fact, she taught herself at a really young age to knit just watching YouTube videos. And she can crochet. And she's really good at crafts and can paint. And she still enjoys all of these activities, and she's 17 now. Yet I found, as I was watching her, that she had an aptitude for working with her cell phone and computers. And I said to her, can I try to teach you something that would be working within your strengths? She's also organized. And, you might think, well, what does knitting have to do with computers? Well, knitting is creative, but it's sequential. You get one stitch wrong and it messes up the entire thing. And that's similar to working on techie types of things. You mess up the code and you can break it. So I taught her to do some things that we do and need on this network with the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network that I own. And so one of the things we do is we do video editing. And we also package audios. And we create graphics. So I taught her audio editing, graphic design, and about SEO, which is search engine optimization. So it's when you are looking for something online and you put in some keywords, we can put things on our website to have you come to our website to find what you're looking for. So if you were typing in something about looking for your child's strengths, hopefully our website would come up in this podcast. And she was really good at it. It didn't take her very long at all to learn it. She already had an aptitude for creativity and technology, so it was an easy fit. And maybe in the future, she has a career in web design or something along those lines. So I took some of her strengths and we parlayed them into a marketable skill. So this gives you a quick idea of how to use a child's strengths, even something they enjoy, and help them develop it into something more. If your children are little, one of the things you can do is give them opportunities. I remember the kids being little, and I would set up all kinds of what I called centers. So these could be shoe boxes with little activities that the kids could do. And I would stack them up, so it was really exciting when I came out with a bunch of little boxes, and this is a great rainy day activity as well. And inside one box, there might be some construction paper and chalk and some scissors. And inside another box, there could be some balloons and some string and some tape. And in another box, you get the idea. There were just little things that they could use, back when we actually bought stuff with styrofoam in them and we were, keeping these things, recyclables, which you can still do. I don't really get too many things that have styrofoam in them anymore. But you have all kinds of little recyclable things, and instead of putting them in the bin to recycle, you might keep some of them out for the kids to be able to cut up and do different crafts with them. So this gave them an opportunity to just explore and do all kinds of things. For example, they could use the balloons, and that's right, I put straws in there as well. So they would take the string and thread it through the straw, And then they could tie that, from one end of the house to the other or somewhere in the room. And then they would blow up the balloon and tape it to the straw and then let the balloon go. And you had a little rocket that went from one end to the other. So there were all kinds of little activities that the kids did. And then you would watch them. Some of them, it didn't hold their attention. Especially my younger kids did not like to cut. Maybe you have a kid who likes to use scissors. Mine never really liked that. But they loved chalk art. So they would take chalk on construction paper, and that was a fun thing for them to do. So different kids like to do different things. And it's amazing if we give our children the opportunities to develop their gifts. It is amazing what you will find. And it also makes them feel good when we can encourage our children and tell them they're doing a good job, because so many times as parents, we discipline, right? And we don't often catch them doing something good. So maybe try that this week. Encourage your children in something that they're doing and really sit back, take a look, go through some of these things on the list, print out that paper I have on the show notes, and see what you can find. And see if there's something that you can encourage your child to do and to parlay it maybe into something more. Well, thanks so much for taking the time and sharing it with me. This is Harvest Your Child's Strength for any age. You can find the show notes for episode 506 at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. And be sure to share this episode with a friend. And come check out our Facebook page. I wish I could remember the URL because I can never remember it. But I think it's Podcast Family. I'm not sure. But the link's on the show notes. I'll make sure to put it out on there. So take care, everyone. God bless. Make sure you're on our email list so you can get those free planners. This year, it's the Organize It planners. And next year, it will be something different. So take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Visit Felice at MediaAngels.com and TheVintageHomeschoolMoms.com. Vintage Homeschool Moms is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.